Hey, everybody. This is the SMC Journal Podcast, the show that's all about modern software engineering. And we talk about everything under the sun, including testing, tuning, observability, security, AI, and much, much more. I'm Scott Moore, your host. Thank you for joining me today. Real user monitoring. We've talked about that on this show in the past. We've talked about synthetic monitoring, ways that you can monitor what's going on with your website from real user traffic that's going on, especially around the performance of your application. How do you know that what you experience from your website internally on your LAN or close by in a geographic region is the same as somebody that's all the way across on the other side of the world? There's latency involved. There's all kind of other factors that may cause that web page to not be so great in other places. But you wouldn't know that unless you were gathering that information from the users that are actually using your site. So we have talked about real user monitoring before, but some of you are like, you know what? If I wanted to get involved with that, I have to get these big giant packages from observability platforms and I have to set up this and that. I just want a simple to use real user monitoring program. Is that possible? Maybe we're going to talk about one I think today that you might be interested in. Before we get into that, let's talk about the sponsors that make this show possible for you to watch. This episode is sponsored by Opentext, the information company. We power and protect information. Our purpose is to elevate every person and every organization to gain the information advantage. Opentext works to power the ubiquitous information around us to elevate everyone. We strive to help customers simplify their systems with frictionless automation and equip them to thrive and grow in a digital world. The LoadRunner family is one of many solutions where Opentext can help. Did you know that LoadRunner has the largest community of load testing professionals in the world? Check out the QR code or go to their website at opentext.com to find out more about the LoadRunner family. Do you need unbreakable network connectivity? West Networks can help. They're a leading provider of PepLink-based SD-WAN solutions, and they can help you achieve unbreakable connectivity by utilizing PepLink's SpeedFusion bandwidth bonding technology. Since 2012, West Networks has been assisting those in the mobile health services space by providing communities with access to life-saving technology. They also work with mobile command field units like first responders and news agencies, delivering faster and reliable access to mission-critical information all the time. Whether you're an IT professional who needs to work from anywhere or a full-time vacationing traveler in the RV community, West Networks can help you stay connected all the time from anywhere. Large enterprises can save up to 83% off cost while expanding communications and reliability beyond a single carrier with West Network's PepLink-based SD-WAN solutions. They can help you replace expensive MPLS connections with SpeedFusion's site-to-site unbreakable VPN technology. So no matter what your needs are, West Networks can help you achieve unbreakable connectivity. Contact them today to learn more. Thank you so much, sponsors, for your support of this program and the entire software community at large. Real user monitoring platform. Is there a simple one out there? I recently met the CEO of Request Metrics, and I thought it would be a good idea to have them on the show. This is a smaller company, but a very agile company, listening to what their customers are telling them and changing the product accordingly, which I'm always interested in hearing about. So let's actually talk to Todd Gardner today and ask him about what does this product provide, and is it easy to get set up using real user monitoring today? Let's see. Hey, Todd, welcome to the SMC Journal Podcast. It's great to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much, Scott. I love being here.
I want to talk about Request Metrics and your company and you. I'd like for you to introduce yourself to our audience and tell us how you got involved with these metrics and web performance and that kind of thing.
Yeah. It's a long, boring story that I will give you the short version of. But
Thank
I
you.
have been doing web monitoring web applications for like 15 years in various forms. I used to be an independent consultant, and I would go in and I'd help companies build out these really ambitious JavaScript applications, and we would need to monitor them to make sure that they worked right and they were fast and they didn't have errors and stuff like that. That led me to create my company, which my company is called Track.js, which does JavaScript error monitoring. And we've been running that for 10 years at this point. And it's super successful. It helps companies all over the world. But in 2020, when the whole world shut down, we needed something new to kind of do. And web performance was something that I'd always been like super interested in. It felt like a good like a thing that I hadn't really tackled successfully yet. With my existing product, Track.js, I could tell you when an application would fail completely, but I couldn't necessarily tell you when it was just getting slower or getting frustrating or those sort of things. And so that's what we started running at. And so we've built lots of different iterations of that product to try and like get it right. And the idea behind it is how can we capture information from the real users interacting with your website, so real user monitoring,
Mhm.
and gather that performance information together, and then deal with the most important problem of real user monitoring, which is filtering out garbage data. How do we like do a really good job of filtering and discoverability so that people who look at that performance data can trust it, can find the issues that actually matter, and that when something slows down, understand how to go about fixing it. And so that's what we've been running at since mid 2020. And I'm really excited with where we're going with it.
And so the result of solving that problem is request metrics, and there's several different pieces to this, but why don't you describe what request metrics is in a nutshell? What's your elevator pitch for that?
Sure, sure. So, request metrics, the elevator pitch has evolved as our product has evolved. The current one that you're showing up on the screen right now is our idea of being a comprehensive client side monitoring platform. And the idea behind this is that we're capturing all of this data from the real users with really powerful filtering technology. Well, I can capture that data and apply it to multiple use cases. So I can capture data about analytics and where your users come from. I can capture data about what they're doing on your page, whether they're completing your funnel. I can capture performance information, and I can capture errors, and I can capture API calls and all kinds of other things to give a really comprehensive view of how the end user is interacting with your page. Now, what's evolving right now is that we're finding that most users who fall into our product niche tend to care about web performance more than any of those other things. And so we're really deepening our investment in that web performance part of the product to answer more questions, to put more focus on that, because I think that's a really underserved problem space. I don't think there's a lot of people solving that problem really, really well. And I think we can help a lot of sites get faster and deliver better experiences by putting more time there.
So, question, you mentioned real user monitoring. And when we're talking about end user and the digital experience, there's two main ways that people get that information. One of is a synthetic monitor where you create this script, it goes out and acts like a user, pulls timings, and that's from a pre-known happy path or some kind of a path that's known about, doesn't necessarily get everything. And then you've got the real user monitoring, which is these are sessions that real users are actually using, and it's just capturing that data. Do you have a synthetic counterpart to what your rum is, and do we need both?
Today, we do not have a synthetic tool because synthetic tools are widely available. So, doing that sort of lab testing, as Google calls it, where you're in the development cycle, I'm going to run a test. Like, there's tons of free tools out there, like web page tests, page speed insights, Lighthouse built in the browser. Anybody can run these things at any time and gather that data together. So we didn't really think that there was a a a monitoring role that needed to exist there. The monitoring part is understanding what the real users are doing. If I conflate that with, hey, my synthetics report says your time to first byte is a second, but like my real monitoring is saying your time to first byte is 3 seconds. Well, I don't really want to create that confusion because it's 3 seconds. Like that means that the synthetic test is incorrect. It's testing from a invalid location or with an invalid set of circumstances, and I don't want to create that opportunity for the user to feel like it's okay when it's clearly not.
Right. It seems to me like this would be uh, a great alternative to Google Analytics, for example, because you've got the same information as Google Analytics, but then you've also got an emphasis on the performance timings. For example, you report core vital metrics, right?
Yeah, yeah, core web
And
vitals
I got to
became
tell you,
super important.
I just tried to go through a little mini course on Google Analytics this morning, so I may be one of your customers after today because I can't I I'm not trying to just dog Google, but they make some of the best software in the entire world that's most intuitive, but some of their internal stuff and some of this back-end stuff, what is going on with this? So, is would this be a great thing to switch over to for if you're just looking at Google Analytics, would it give you all the same stuff you can see in there plus more?
It's different. It's not all the same stuff plus more. We definitely give way deeper information about performance. We give some of the same information around analytics, but we give it to you in a much easier to understand package. So I totally agree with you and empathize on how complicated Google has become, especially in the new GA4 world. It is awful. Like I was actually just setting up a new GA4 instance for a site that I'm helping out with, and it took me like forever. I still don't think I have it set up right. I don't know how how this free ubiquitous tool has become so complicated that somebody like I don't think I'm the most experienced web monitoring person ever, but like I know what I'm doing. Like I've been doing this stuff a long time, and the fact that I can't figure it out this means something is wrong. It's not us. It's the system. The system is not good, and I think there's a lot of frustration uh, about that, publicly, that makes Google Analytics, not the best option. But it is free, and I am not. I need to pay my mortgage and buy beer and stuff. So like, I have to charge for the software that I make. Um, what Request Metrics was is trying to do is be a much simpler way of approaching that data so that you can log in and see answers to basic analytics questions like, hey, where's your traffic coming from and what are the busiest pages, in order to give you that context to know where should you invest your effort, where should you spend your time making the site better, making the site faster, by putting that effort into the pages that matter to your end users the most and matter to the end users that matter, that are the most relevant for you.
So the way you would install this would be like some of the other solutions I've seen. You could put some code on your website, some JavaScript code or something, or you got some kind of an agent. Can you talk about how you would set that up?
Yeah, yeah. So there's really just, all client side monitoring technology happens in that same basic architecture. There's a JavaScript agent that you need to bundle and include with your code. The simple and fastest way to do it is you take like our little snippet and you put it on your page. But it's that runs kind of out of band as a separate thing. If you're building a rich application with like React or Angular or Svelte or whatever, we also have an NPM package, which is a little bit safer because you bundle it into your application and there's no third domains or whatever that need to get interacted. But ultimately, there needs to be a little bit of JavaScript that runs in your page when the end user loads your page, so that we're able to gather those sort of metrics and pull them back to our system.
So I know there are other solutions that do this. What would you say is your value prop for this, or what distinguishes you from some of the other rum products out there?
Yeah, so there's tons of run products. We did not invent this term or this space at all. One of the patterns that tends to happen in monitoring in any kind of application monitoring space is that um, when a problem needs to get solved, a bunch of companies run at it. And most of those companies end up being venture backed. And so as soon as they get any sort of traction, they go up market, they try and get bigger, they become more expensive. They try and go for those enterprise dollars. And we see that with like all of the big, like the your listeners probably are familiar with tools like, I don't know, Speed Curve and Splunk and App Dynamics and those sort of things. And those are all really great tools that are very broad in their scope and will try and lock you in on some sort of enterprise wide deal to solve all monitoring problems for everybody. And that's great if that's the organization that you're in. But it leaves a lot of small and mid-sized teams like unable to afford the tools because they simply can't afford to get in on those sort of things, either paying the price tag or paying for the complexity of just trying to understand all of the different options and bells and whistles and how to build the reports and what the query language is that supports these things and all of those complexities that come in when a tool becomes enterprise ready, make it really hard for smaller teams to adopt. And I think that's what we want to be. Being that we are internally profitable, like we didn't take any outside funding, we are like bootstrapped um, and employee owned. We can just focus on building for other people like us. Like build a tool that is easy enough that a web developer can walk into it, understand with a reasonable amount of effort what this is, how to use it, what insights to gather, and charge an appropriate amount for small to mid-sized teams to add this to their budget without, you know, going crazy, like without, uh, fitting in a reasonable IT team's budget kind of thing.
Right. Well, that's great. What about integrating with some of these other solutions that aren't providing RUM data, but they provide some of the other stuff? Do you work with any other uh, tools to do that?
Not today. We have a pretty robust API that you can call to pull data out of our system and pass it to other tools or integrate it with other things. We're actively looking at a few integrations right now, but we just haven't seen the a really compelling use case for why we need to integrate with this other thing versus just, hey, here's a unique key that like links these two things together. But we're a small team and we move fast. So if there is the right use case for that, somebody listening to this is like, hey, I'd love that, but like I really need you to integrate with, I don't know, Honeycomb or whatever. Like, cool, let's do that.
What about the future of the product? Where do you plan on taking it from here?
I think that we're putting more investment into web performance right now, and so that's where we're really seeing a lot of opportunity. So in specifically the front end of web performance, there's a lot of emphasis, there's a lot of concern around the core web vital scores in the last couple of years because it's become a page rank factor.
Mhm.
Google said, "Hey, your site has to be fast in these ways, or we're going to start penalizing you." Which is obviously a big concern to content publishers, to e-commerce sites where your page rank is the lifeblood of your company kind of thing. And so I think we're going to deepen our investment there and focus specifically on how do we expose the issues faster and simpler? So when there's a problem with, say, your largest contentful paint, what is the element behind it? What domains did they come from? And maybe what alternatives do you have? So providing actionable recommendations um, to say not only like when there's a problem, but where that problem is, so that you can get to fixing it much faster than you could without without any sort of monitoring in place.
Somebody watching this says, you know what? I think we need this. We're not getting this type of information. What would be some of your first advice to a company who is saying, "I think we're being penalized because we aren't fast enough"? What are some of the maybe your top two or three things or metrics that people should be looking at today to say these are things you have to be up on? What should they be looking at?
Sure. So Google will tell you whether or not you are potentially being penalized right off the bat. So your Google Search Console, which if you're like in this kind of company, you don't have access to that. That's kind of a problem because it gives you a ton of technical data about how your page has been indexed by Google. So getting access to your Google Search Console, and that will tell you whether or not Googlebot sees your page as having bad scores in the three core web vital metrics, which are your largest contentful paint, how long it takes for the largest thing to show up on your screen, the cumulative layout shift, which is how much your page moves around during the loading time, and then the it's about to change, which will soon be the interaction to next paint, which is how long it takes for your browser to paint after there has been some interaction, which is kind of a measurement of, are you loading an appropriate amount of content in JavaScript and things for the browsers that are actually visiting your page. And so those are the metrics that they are actively looking at and potentially penalizing you on. And if they are going to penalize you, they will be telling you this, that you have bad scores for mobile or desktop in Search Console. Now, only updates like every few days and is very broad strokes. So, like, if you actively want to get in and like start looking at things and fixing it, that data isn't good enough. And so you need to if you if you don't know how to use these tools already, things like web page test and Google Lighthouse will let you run a spot test of like right now for my browser, right like at this particular instant, here's how fast my page is, and it will tell you these scores, kind of thing, which is a great debugging tool to like try and understand it. But that doesn't tell you what the real users are doing. And so that's where you layer in this third level of like real user monitoring. So first you need to know what Google thinks, then you can do point testing, then you should look at your end users and to actually gather the real data that your users are experiencing, because that's the source of truth, right? When you run point tests, when you run Lighthouse or whatever, that gives you a best case scenario. Your site could be this fast, but it probably won't ever be faster than that. But it might be quite a bit slower depending on what your users are doing and when they access it and what networks they access it on. And so gathering that data really gives you that more comprehensive view and gives you data that's much faster, much more timely to respond to than what Google's doing. So if you are starting to invest in improving those metrics, you can use real user monitoring to see your scores go down the minute after you launch, rather than waiting days or weeks for the next time Googlebot bothers to come across your site and crawl it.
Excellent advice. Thank you for that. All right, this all sounds really good. I think if somebody's very interested, they're gonna wanna see it. So do you actually have a demo or something you can share with us?
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's take a look.
All right, let's do it.
Here's an example of some of the data that we capture with request metrics. We dog food all of our own products. So we run request metrics on request metrics and everything else that we do. So here's an example of a real user experience while trying to install request metrics into their application. Here's everything about that page. So we see the top line load performance, it was 453 milliseconds. And then to ground that, like, what does that mean? We show that relative to other data from your site. So this is some of the fastest experiences on this page and really fast for this application. This page was a 200 OK. It was served over HTTP 2, and it was 5.7K. In the middle, we have like, here's all of the information about the end user's device, what kind of connection they were on at the time, what device and browser they were using, the language they were set to, resolution, that sort of stuff. And then the user, if you know who your users are, you can tell us, you can send us specific information about them so that we can give you more accurate data. If you don't tell us that, that's fine too. We'll just generate a user ID automatically based on their browser and location. So it would say something like, hey, here is a Apple Chrome user in Czechia. So this user was last seen 5 days ago, first seen 5 days ago, and last seen 5 days ago. And then here's a bunch of like metadata that we've sent up. You can send up arbitrary key value pairs of whatever is interesting for you to describe your users or your application or the session, whatever is easiest for you to discover things. We have all of their core web vitals. So these are the experience they had, and then how they rate according to Google's measurements of good, improvement, or poor. So everything was pretty good except CLS. They had kind of a bad experience there, which means that the page shifted around a little bit for them. And so if we want to dig into why, that's what this page load timeline is. It's this really detailed waterfall of exactly what they experienced. So we see this user came in, they were referred from this other URL from the setup page. DNS took basically 0 because it was cached. SSL took 0 because it was cached. And then how long did the server take? It took 116 milliseconds for the server to start returning the payload. And that's when we see the time to first byte. Then we have all of the blocking assets, all that the time it takes for the browser to download things that are going to block DOM interactive. And we even highlight things that are blocking. So here's a couple of CSS files that are render blocking, like the page cannot proceed further until these are done. So these are like your most important things to optimize if they're slow. And then we have other files that are coming down during that important blocking phase that could be optimized further and could reduce this. So this includes all of the resources, all of the JavaScript, all of the API calls that happen, the images that get pulled in, as well as important metrics like the largest contentful paint. So here's the element that generated the largest contentful paint. It looks like it's a little bit of a prettified code sample, and the largest layout shift, which is this help text right here. So we can automatically show you what were the elements in this page that caused the user to experience the performance that they did. Now, this is just one details page, which obviously you're not going to look at these for every single user, every single person who comes in. So this all gets rolled up with some really interesting and powerful filters. So here is the exploring performance page, where we can look at here's where things have come from for this particular URL. Let's go all the way out. So here's where all the traffic has come from and what the overall performance is, their core web vital scores over time. And then we can look at the individual pages that your application is made up of. By default, we try and automatically group things together with common API or common IDs and that sort of thing to try and automatically create like templates of what your code pages look like. But if you don't want to do that, or if we got it wrong, you can always switch it back to the original and see the raw URLs that we're talking about. Now, one of the most powerful things in request metrics is our ability to filter because it allows you to really zero in on the kinds of things that are important. So connectivity is really important. So we're going to filter and show only the people who are connected to fast broadband connections. And because geography is really important with performance, let's focus to people who are close to our data center in the United States as well. And now we're looking at just those people's performance. So the load performance, there's one person between 6 to 8 milliseconds, one person 4 to 6, 3 people 3 to 4. And so we can explore it like that. Or we can also drop down this filter bar and we can zero in on what we think are important ranges to look at. So if I want to find slow server times. So let's look at everybody who had a server time of greater than 410 milliseconds. Now we can zoom in on that and see those pages. So 3 users had a slow server time on the root page for that. And now we can drill in and find exactly who are those people and what's going on. Now, in this particular case, the user just spent a long time for their browser to unload the previous session. We have this very long waiting time. So it's not actually our server that's slow, it's their browser is having a little bit of a panic attack or something. So we can zoom back out and take a look at another one, see if we have another example. Here's the same thing. The browser had a bit of a freak out. So we can explore this data by lots of different facets. We can look at their performance. We could focus in on web vital time. We could look at people who had slow SSL, find a particular user or people who are on a particular client device as well. We have a ton of other stuff that you can view performance through the lens of analytics. So you can say, hey, show me what the performance of people who came in through Twitter, or show me the performance of people who found us from Google search. Or we also can look at it through the lens of errors. So which JavaScript errors might be correlated with slow performance, or which API calls might be correlated with slow performance. So there's lots of different ways that we can slice and dice this data and approach it, and then filter it to try and find the users that are most important to you and most beneficial in order for you to really understand the problem space that is causing performance issues.
Thanks so much for sharing that demo with us. If somebody wants to find out more, where can they go to find out about request metrics?
So you can hit our website at requestmetrics.com. We're also on all the socials and YouTube and various other places. Or you can get in touch with me, Todd H. Gardner, on everywhere. Twitter, X, LinkedIn, GitHub, all of the places. You can find me and all of the other things I do through that.
I will make sure to put links to everything that you want me to put on there for the show notes on the webpage, as well as the YouTube video text as well. Todd,
Cool.
very good to have you on the show. And I thought this was some good pointers for somebody who's just hearing about this or just getting into web performance. So great to have you on. And I look forward to seeing where you take the product. So if you have some major announcements in the future, get back with me. We'll have you back on the show.
Love it, Scott. Thank you so much.
All right. What did you think about the product, and what kind of feedback can you give me as well as Todd? Because I'll pass your feedback on to him as well. You can reach me through various social media platforms. LinkedIn is a really popular one for me, but scan that QR code, take you to my bio page, and you can contact me several different ways, not the least of which is just by a simple email. Email me at heyscott@smcjournal.com. Would love to hear your feedback. Do you like this kind of content? Well, it would be great if you liked this video and you subscribe to my channel. That lets me know that I am doing the right thing in terms of content, bringing you the kind of information that you want to see and that it's useful to you. Until the next episode of the SMC Journal podcast, this is Scott Moore thanking you once again for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.